Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com, and all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.
Welcome to the NBA Triple Double Show, powered by SportsMemo. I'm your host, Ronald Cabang, also known as UCapper on SportsMemo.com, at UCapper Sports on Twitter. I'll be joined by Moneyline Matt and Skee Profit from WagerTalk.com to break down 3 games from today's huge slate here. But before we get into those games, I do want to talk about a big promo we got going on over at SportsMemo and WagerTalk.com. It is the March Madness Bonanza special. We got a lot of college basketball left. You can get the remainder of the college basketball season from your favorite cappers for just $149 each. That's through the national championship game, and there's no coupon needed for this deal. Once again, that's $149 for the remainder of the college basketball season. That includes all the tournaments through the national championship game. And you could just head over to your favorite college capper page on WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. No promo code needed. Head over to SportsMemo.com and WagerTalk.com after the site here, after the show here. Utilize the free odds pages. Utilize the free picks and analysis that all the cappers provide on a daily basis. It's a tool that you can use. All you got to do is sign up with your email, and it's all free information there. Other than that, guys, hit the like and subscribe button before you go. It only takes a couple clicks, and it also helps our show grow tremendously. With that said, here we do see Moneyline Matt and Skee Profit here with me. It is Monday, so I always want to start off the show pretty, transparent. Obviously, flat weekend again for me here. As far as like overall goes, I was number one over at SportsMemo.com for like 4 to 5 weeks. But the last week and a half has been pretty bad. So I'm on a bad run right here. I do want to start off the weekend on a good note though, and hopefully Matt and Skee can bring some good vibes here. Matt, how's your weekend going? How did your weekend go?
Yeah, so I had a pretty solid weekend. Honestly, I had 8 straight days of profit that sadly came to an end last night. I went 2-3 yesterday, so the 8 straight days of profit did come to an end. But UFC this Saturday, I didn't touch any NBA, just wanted to focus on the UFC. Ended up going 2-1. I had a 4% play on John Bones Jones. He made that nice and sweat-free for all of us. And yeah, like you said, Ron, one streak ends, it's time for another to begin. So it's Monday, ready to break it down with you and Skeet, and excited to talk about this slate.
Yeah, Skee, how was your weekend, man?
I'm right there with Matt. I've had 8 profitable days out of my last 9, but one of them that was not a winning day was on the weekend. I want to say it was Saturday. It was the Wizards versus Raptors game, and really I had the under in that game. It went to overtime. That's the difference between a winning and losing day. So in general, I've been seeing the board well, and hopefully I can contribute to this show.
All right, well, let's get into the slate today. We got 3 games. The first one up, the Hawks and the Heat. These 2 teams just played each other on Saturday. The Heat won 117-109 as 2.5-point favorites. They went under the closing total by the hook. This is a second of a 4-game road trip, but they didn't have to travel since they stayed in Miami. The Heat have been in bad form the last few weeks, winning and covering in only 2 of their last 8 games. This is the 4th of a 6-game homestand. They have back-to-back games with the Cavs up next. From the injury standpoint, the Hawks are completely healthy. Lowry and Kevin Love are both out here for Miami. From a matchup perspective, the Heat now lead the regular season series 2-1 after Saturday's win. Matt, let's start with you here. What are your thoughts in this game?
Yeah, so for me, this is a spot where the Atlanta Hawks are traveling to Miami to face off against a Miami team they just faced. Like you said, Ron, this is a back-to-back. Only 2 days ago, these 2 teams played, and a matchup where the Hawks won 117-109. This is a spot where the Heat have a -3 spread at home, and the total is a 229. And for me, I'm actually going to be looking at the under in this spot, the under 229. And for me, like you said, this is a spot where the Heat will be without Kyle Lowry and Kevin Love. And as for the Hawks, they're going to be full go here. And for both teams, this is a pretty big game. Both teams are still in playoff contention. I expect both teams to play hard, play good defense here. And that's also why I'm siding with the under. And a lot of it has to do with Miami. This is a Miami team who's holding opponents to 108 points per game, which is second throughout the entire NBA. They have the 5th ranked defense in terms of adjusted efficiency and are 28th in terms of overall pace. So they play a very slow brand of basketball. And when you sit and think about a lot of the players that the Miami Heat have, as of late, they've really been running through Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler's best style of basketball is generally that post-up game where he's backing down a smaller guard or something along those lines and then facilitating out of that position. And, with the post-up game, a lot of that does take time. It's you're taking shots later in the shot clock, things of that nature. And, this is an Atlanta Hawks team who does run a higher style of pace of basketball, but I think it evens out with this Miami team. So for me, I really do like the look of this under in this spot. I think this Miami Heat defense is athletic enough to keep up with the Hawks, to stop some of their athleticism. DeJounte Murray driving to the basket, Trae Young doing the same exact thing. And, in the last 5 matchups, the under 229 has also cashed 4 times. So for me, that's exactly where I'm going to be looking in this matchup. I think this is a big game for both teams. And I think we see a slower style of basketball and a more defensive-minded style of basketball. So I'm with the under in this spot.
Yeah, I like that look a lot there as far as the under goes. I was actually, when I go through my breakdown, I was actually looking towards the team total on the Hawks side for the most part. Because when I was looking at the Hawks here, 1-8 straight up and against the spread, as road dogs this season, when the total is 230 or less, they're only averaging 108.6 per game. The one game that they did go over, that they won and covered, was versus a shorthanded Bucks team who were without Drew and Chris Middleton. So they took care of business there. But other than that, they really have been struggling in that road dog situation with a lower total. The Heat as home favorites, they are just 8-20-2 against the spread. But if we look at the higher totals in these Heat games in this specific situation, when the total is greater than 225, the Heat are 3-0 straight up and against the spread, and also 3-0 to the under. So that also goes with your under there, holding their opponents to their team total in all 3 games, holding their opponents to under their team total in all 3 of those games. The Heat in general in that 225 threshold, because like you said, their pace of play is total opposites here. So I kind of look at them a little bit differently. We'll look at, for the Heat side, these higher totals over 225. They're 6-4 straight up and against the spread. Also 7-3 to the under, holding their opponents under their team total in 8 of those 10 games. The two games that when they allowed their opponent to go over were in October, which were the first 2 games of that specific situation. So a lot of things are pointing to me to the Hawks team total under 113 points here. Skee, do you see anything on the side or the total here, or even maybe a prop look?
Yeah, I do like a couple things in this game, but I'll start off with this. This is a situation where, they just played the other day, and it's a really important game for both teams. 8th seed for the Hawks currently, 7th seed for Miami currently. If the Hawks lose, they're in the play-in tournament. If it were to end today. So I just think, you're going to get a really good effort. And to me, that means both teams are going to play a little bit better defense. You guys talked about, how these teams have been playing each other lately. I know the last 10 games, their games averaged 213.8 points per game. It's went under 8 of the last 9 meetings. So I like that. Miami's also been going under lately, under 4 of their last 5 games. And I read this little query from the database. Dating back to 2016, the under is 144, 95, and 16, which is 60.3%. And that's for home teams on an under streak that are playing in a division game after the All-Star break during the regular season. And if the total is higher than 226, the under increases to 66.2%. So that's just telling you exactly what I'm saying. Like a division game after All-Star break, that's 2 teams kind of jockeying for a position and seeing who's going to be, who's more of the top dog. So I think that just means more defense. So I like the under. And if I have to play the side, I'm not playing the Heat here, bro. Heat are 7-20-2 as a home favorite. They kind of been a team who's been really inconsistent all year. I saw a stat on Twitter from our guy Joe Osborne, and just kind of saying that. It says the Miami Heat have played a span of 24 games where they haven't covered the spread in consecutive games. They're 0-7 against the spread. So they flip-flop wins and losses. They did just beat up on this Atlanta team. I talked about how important it is for them. And in that last game, I mean, Trae Young and Murray they combined like 5 for 27. They're absolutely terrible. Trae Young had 8 points. Murray had, I think, 10. You're going to get a better game from both of those guys. I think Collins didn't even play 20 minutes. And I want to say it just wasn't anybody contributing. I listened to Quinn Snyder talk about the team. He said they were down big in the third quarter, and they made that push, but it was just kind of they couldn't get the good shots as late. They couldn't get the good shots at the end of the game, and he attributed that to him being a new coach over there, and that they will correct it. So I like the way Atlanta's been playing lately. You don't think of them as a good road team, but they're 6-2 against the spread their last 8 as a road dog with equal rest. So I like Atlanta, and I like the under.
100% agree with you there. I think we should expect some type of offensive output from the two guards there who struggled in the last game. But for the most part, I think and also what you guys mentioned about the Heat as home favorites, right? How they struggle against the spread in that spot. That's kind of why I kind of pivoted towards the Hawks team total under, is because the pace of play still is very slow. But even if they do go under their team total, that doesn't mean that they don't cover. So that's the reason why I kind of pivoted towards the team total versus taking either the Heat or just the full game under in general. So I like the way that you guys were breaking down that game. So let's move on to the next one here, the Raptors and the Nuggets. Raptors coming off of the win over the Wizards. This is a third of a 5-game road trip. They did play 2 games straight in DC, so they didn't have to travel between those 2 games. But now they go from DC all the way to Elevation in Denver in just 1 day of rest. The Nuggets, on the other hand, they're really in really good form here, winning and covering in 7 of their last 8 games, including the last 3 straight. This is the second of a 3-game homestand as well for them, and they do have a 1-day rest advantage as well, not having played since they beat the Grizzlies on Friday. From an injury standpoint, the Raptors are healthy. This is rare for them throughout the season. They've been dealing with a lot of injuries, but today I don't see anyone really on the injury report. On the opposite side, Zeke Naji is out. Conchar and Thomas Bryant are both questionable for the Nuggets here. This is the first matchup of the season. Skee, do you see anything here that you could you find an edge on?
I feel like this game is just, pretty 1 + 1 = 2 and just playing teams in their roles. Toronto all year has been a poor road team. I have them as 12-20 straight up, 13-19 against the spread. And Denver at home, complete opposite. They've been dominant. They've only lost 4 games all season. They're 22-10 against the spread. So that makes me want to look towards this Denver side. I know you have to cover the spread here, but the way you win by margin in the NBA is you shoot the 3 well, you defend the 3 well, and if you can rebound the basketball, and close out possessions. Denver does all of those things well. They're top 5 shooting the 3, defending the 3 on the season, and they're a top 5 rebounding team post All-Star break. So I like that going up against the Raptors team who's bottom 5 and those same categories that I just listed. I like to fade teams off of an overtime game in general. I check the database to see if I can come up with something to support it. And it says I know home favorites with rest advantage win straight up about 72.5% of the time, dating all the way back to 1995. And Denver, when they win at home, I have them here by about 12 points per game or somewhere around that range. So home favorites between 5 and 10 with the rest advantage when their opponent is off of an overtime game. They are 87, 56, and 9, which is 60.8% against the spread. That's since 1995. And if you look since 2017, it gets even better, 73.3%. So I like the Nuggets minus the 6 or 7 points. I know the line's been flopping back and forth.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there, especially the rest advantage and also the travel situation there for the Wizards. A lot of things really pointing towards that Denver side. Is that something that you're looking at too, Matt? Are you looking towards Denver or focusing in on a total or maybe even a prop?
Yeah, I have a couple looks from this game, but I am definitely with Skee. My number 1 look is going to be the Denver Nuggets here. When looking at this Toronto Raptors team, this is just not a team I can bet on at this point in time. And in all honesty, I don't think I'll have a Toronto Raptors bet for the rest of the season. This team is so inconsistent, not just from a whole team perspective, but even from a player prop perspective. It's very difficult to pinpoint who's going to go off every single night. With Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent, Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam, you would think this team would be be a little more consistent, but they're just not. And, again, going back to Skeet's points, this is a Denver Nuggets team who is the best home team in all of basketball. They're 29-4 straight up, 22-10-1 against the spread. And again, as for the Raptors, this is a team who's 12-20 straight up while on the road and 13-19 against the spread. So for me, another player that I'm definitely looking at right now is Nikola Jokic. Jokic has been playing unbelievable basketball. He plays far better at home on top of that and tends to get more triple doubles at home as well. So I think the Jokic triple double is another great look tonight. For him, he's generally always going to get those points and rebounds. And the number one worry is generally those assists. And with as well as the Denver Nuggets have been shooting from the outside right now with guys like MPJ, Aaron Gordon's back with his cuts to the baskets, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Jamal Murray. I think the look for the Jokic triple-double is once again another good one. And this morning it was about plus 110. And I'm sure a lot of people have been taking that, so it might be closer to even money, minus 110 right now. But as easy as he's been hitting these as of late, I think once again, it's a great look. So for me, it's Nuggets or nothing, and I'm definitely taking a look at that Jokic triple-double tonight.
Yeah, I mean, for that makes the three of us then, because I can only look towards Denver as well. Historically, the Raptors have not fared well in Denver. They're just 2-5 straight up, 1-6 against the spread. Also 5-1-1 to the over, facing the Nuggets in Denver in their last 7 games in that matchup. Raptors struggle on the road in general. I think Skee mentioned 12-20 straight up, 13-19 against the spread. Also 18-13-1 to the over, really struggling on the defensive side of the ball. On the opposite side, the Nuggets at home, I think they're one of the best teams at home, 29-4 straight up at home, 22-10 against the spread. If you include that they're playing at least their second straight home game in a row so they don't have to travel, they're 15-1 straight up, 12-3-1 against the spread. And then if you add to the fact that they're facing a non-conference conference opponent, 5-0 straight up, 5-0 against the spread, 4-0-1 to the over. They're averaging nearly 130 per game and only allowing 114 per game in all of those 5 games, winning by double digit in all 5 of those games. And that includes teams against the Celtics, games against the Celtics and the Cavs in that spot. So for me, a lot of things are pointing towards the Nuggets. I think one thing to take advantage of is that travel spot. So maybe a stronger lean to the Nuggets early, maybe that first quarter or the first half. Yeah, that would be the only ways that I look for that game there. Let's move on to our last game of the slate here that we're going to be talking about. Pelicans and the Kings. Pelicans have been struggling lately, losing and failing to cover in 5 of their last 6 games. This is the last of a 3-game road trip for them before a 4-game homestand. They do have a slight rest advantage, not having played since their loss to Golden State on Friday. The Kings, they're coming off of the outright loss to the Wolves on Saturday. That broke their 5-game winning streak. It seems like their lack of defense finally caught up to them. But today they're facing one of the teams that have been really struggling offensively the last few weeks here, especially without a lot of their key players. This is the third of a 4-game homestand for the Kings tonight as well. From an injury standpoint, Nance, Richardson, Alvarado, Zion all out for the Pelicans. And then Valanciunas is questionable for them as well. So he's going to be someone that we need to keep an eye on depending on where we bet this game. Fox and Holmes are both questionable for the Kings too. So Fox's status is going to be something that we need to keep our eye on as well. From a matchup perspective, the Pelicans, they pretty much smashed that first game there. They beat the Kings in the first matchup between each other this season. Pelicans 136-104 as 2-point home dogs. They flew over the total of 228. Fox was out that game, and on the Pelican side, BI and Zion were out for that game as well. BI is going to be there today. Fox is still questionable, like I mentioned earlier. Skee, what are you thinking about this game? There are a lot of different angles to look at just because of the injuries that are especially on the Pelican side.
Yeah, this is my least favorite game out of the slate for today, but I agree that the Pelicans are struggling to score, and because of that, it makes it hard for me to trust a full game over. Even though Sacramento's been giving it up, right? They're allowing over 130 points per game the last 2 weeks. So I guess to sum it up, the only way I could play the total one way or the other would be towards the over. I know the home road splits for both of these teams, they're combined 40 and 24 that way. I think I'd probably prefer Sacramento team total just a little more because I trust their offense. And thinking about why the Pelicans are over teams on the road, it's more of what they're giving up more than what they're scoring. So Kings team total would probably be the way I play this game if I'm getting involved. Muted.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think for the most part, when you look at the Pelicans as road dogs specifically, they're only 6-17 straight up, 7-15-1 against the spread on the season. They've gone under their team total in 6 of their last 7 road dog situations. But again, when we look at the Kings and how they struggle defensively, it's hard to take a team total under for the Pelicans side here in this spot. So I can only look towards the over as well. If we dive deeper into it, the Kings haven't been great as home favorites specifically. As far as the spread goes, they're just 10-14 against the spread, but 17-7 to the over as home favorites this season. If you look at it from a point perspective, where they're favored by 4 or more, the Kings are 14-3 to the over this season. None of those games went into OT either, and they average a combined score of 250 in regulation. So a lot of things pointing towards the over for me. But like you said, Skee, I think I trust the Kings team total over a little bit more. Matt, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this is it's kind of funny because this only happened one other time on this show, and I have the exact same play once again. I have the Pelicans and Kings over 237 in this spot, and honestly, I did not think about that Kings team total. I think that's a great look because if there's one team that's going to slip here, it would probably be the New Orleans Pelicans. I think the Kings are, especially coming off a loss, they're going to be ready to ball. And I personally do expect De'Aaron Fox to play, but even if he does not, I don't believe the pace of the Kings shifts all that much because you still have someone like Davion Mitchell coming in. You still have someone like Malik Monk who handles the basketball, pushes up the court, things of that nature. So I still expect this team to be pretty fast-paced. And, you know, with the Pelicans as well, this is a team that's also coming off a loss. So I think they're going to be coming in looking to rebound in this spot. And for me, one reason that I also like the over, and obviously you do have to watch the news for De'Aaron Fox, it's because of the matchups. You know, De'Aaron Fox is the point guard, obviously, for the Sacramento Kings, and he'll be going against someone like C.J. McCollum or Trey Murphy. And I believe he can exploit that matchup. I believe he can get to the paint. I believe he can dish it out and make plays, things like that. And then on the other side, the guy that I'm looking at is Brandon Ingram. You know, the Kings are one of the worst teams throughout the entire NBA at guarding the small forward position. Brandon Ingram is coming off, I believe, a 6 of 17 shooting night, one of his worst nights to date. He's going to be looking to bounce back as well. So when you have two players who have solid matchups and going against each other, high pace up spot, high total, I think both of those guys are going to be able to exploit it. And because of that, I think the over is the look here. But to your guys' point, I think I actually do like that Kings team total look a little bit better, just because if any team slips, once again, I think it would be the Pelicans.
My bad. So when I look into that road dog situation a little bit more for the Pelican side, I dove deeper into it, and I looked at how they faced conference opponents with a winning record. They've actually failed to cover in any of those games and failed to win in any of those games as well. 0-8 straight up, 0-7-1 against the spread. They're allowing 119.8 per game, and they haven't faced a team in that spot that play the pace that the Kings do and who have been more offensively efficient on the season like the Kings have been. So I do like that Kings team total over quite a bit there. Let's move on to the best part of the show here, the best bets. We got 3 best bets going on here from Skee, Matt, and myself. Matt, let's go with you here first. What is your best bet for today's show? Also, what do you have going on the premium side?
Yeah, like I was saying before, guys, we had 8 straight days of profit with the NBA and the UFC. Ended this Sunday, so we're looking to start a new streak. And I got 2 plays loaded over on SportsMemo as well. And one thing that I'm also going to be doing every single Monday, I am going to be loading an even money same game parlay for the 10-day challenge. So I'll have a free play over on my page with a same game parlay equaling about plus 100. We're going to get that 10-day challenge going, see how far we can get. But for today's best bet, I am looking at this New Orleans Pelicans and Sacramento Kings game. You You guys know I love high totals. I love pace-up matchups. And we're going to be looking at Brandon Ingram in this spot and going over 26.5 points. Because like I said before, this is a spot for Brandon Ingram and the New Orleans Pelicans team where they're both looking to bounce back. This is a -5.5 spread and a 237 total to go with it. On the season, this Kings team has been one of my favorite teams to target all season long because of their high pace and their lack of defense. Brandon Ingram is coming off a 6 of 16 shooting night for 17 points, and I think it's a perfect bounce back spot, honestly. In addition to that, this is a New Orleans Pelicans team who will be without Josh Richardson. Not like he takes a ton of shots, but those shots got to go somewhere. And then another guy on top of that is Jonas Valanciunas. If Jonas Valanciunas is not in that middle, we could also see this game pick up in pace even more than before. Joe Val is a game time decision, so he could end up playing, but that's also a guy who has volume, who has shots, opportunity, and if he does not play, I think that goes right to Brandon Ingram. In this spot, I think, again, a lot of the opportunity, the volume, it's going to be left for Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum to pick up a lot of the work here. The Kings have the 26th ranked defense throughout the entire NBA, the 9th pace overall, and are actually one of the worst teams throughout the NBA at guarding the small forward position. On the season, they're giving up 23.23 points per game to the small forward position, 3rd worst throughout the entire NBA. And again, kind of some of those trends we talked about before. The Kings are 21-10-1 to the over at home, and the Pelicans are 19-14 to the over when away. So again, we're trying to find as much opportunity as possible, as much volume, and a spot where a game could absolutely go off. If that game goes off, there's a good chance Brandon Ingram goes along with it. So I'm with Brandon Ingram over 26.5 points tonight.
Yeah, that look makes a lot of sense with all the injuries going on over on the Pelican side. Also, that pace-up play that you mentioned. So I like that look a lot here. Skee, let's go with you. Let's talk about your best bet for today's show. Also, what do you got going on over on the premium side at WagerTalk.com?
Yeah, today is $9 Monday. Just like Matt, I think I've won 8 of the last 9 days. And I have a 4-pack up and available if you'd like to be involved over there. For the best bet for the show, I mean, I talked about this game for probably about 5 minutes early. I think it was the first game we talked about, first or second. But I like Atlanta and Miami under the 229 and a half, whatever the number you can get. And it's a lot of reasons to like it. But it's a game that means a lot to both of these teams as far as playoff seeding is concerned down the stretch. So that means defense for me. If you want to know more of why I like it, listen to the breakdown earlier. Under 229 and a half.
I like it. All right. Well, for me, I got the Celtics. I'm looking at that Celtics and Cavs game. I got the Celtics under their team total tonight. The Celtics are 3-1 to the under as dogs this season. The other thing that I was really focusing in on is how they do after OT games. And they're 3-0 to the under in road games following an OT game, only averaging 106.3 per game while being favored in each of those games. And also, all 3 of those games had a total over 225. Today, we're seeing a total at, what is it, 219, 218 and a half. So I'm expecting them to kind of struggle offensively here. And on the Cavs side, they only allow 104.3 points per game at home. They are the second best defensive rated team in the league as far as home play goes. Also, they play the slowest pace in the league in home games. At home versus teams with a winning record, and the total is less than 20. The Cavs are 7-2 straight up, 6-3 against the spread, 6-3 to the under, allowing just 98.8 points per game in that spot. And in those 9 games, the Cavs allowed their opponents to go over their total in just one of them. That went into OT, and they still went over by the hook only. The Celtics team total is 106, so I think they struggled to get to that spot there. The last time they played in Cleveland, Boston did score 107 in regulation. I think they struggled to score today in a even worse spot, coming off a double OT game. Also, no rest. Also, the possibility of some load management news from the Celtics later on in the day. They already just announced Horford being out while we were doing this show, and there could be more news later on. So, to me, I like this team total under 106. From a premium side, I do only have one play up today in the NBA. I'll look to see if I could add any more, maybe something on the prop side. But other than that, guys, that is the show. The best bets and the breakdowns were all great today. I feel like, well, once again, SportsMemo.com and Wager.com for WagerTalk.com for Skee Profit, Moneyline Matt and myself over at SportsMemo.com. Like Skee said, it is $9 Monday. All picks and packages on the site are just $9. We also have that college basketball March Madness Bonanza, 149 for the remainder of the college basketball season. That's through the national championships, and that includes all the tournaments through the national championship. No promo code needed. Just head over to the site to your favorite cappers page, and that stuff will be there. Make sure you check out the Sports Memo and the WagerTalk.com sites as well on a daily basis. Free picks and analysis, the live odds pages, everything's there. Like I said, it is free. All you need to do is sign up with your email address. With that said, guys, next show will be on Wednesday, the same time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard. We'll have Jeff Michaels joining myself and Moneyline Matt. Until then, good luck with all your action. Peace.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com, and all daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including 5% best bets, normally priced at $35. As an added bonus, any picks packages loaded early for Overnight Tuesday or action during the week will also be priced at $9 until midnight on Monday. So make sure to take advantage of getting these $25 and $35 picks for only $9 before the clock strikes 12 and they return to regular price.